Well, let's jump right into the good stuff. How do you know how tampons work? You don't know. They might have just slipped a little bit during dancing.
And start swanging around down there. I've done a lot of research about tampons, actually.
Shut the fuck up.
Tampons changed my life.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Ian Carroll, welcome back.
Yeah, good to be here again, man.
How you doing, my friend?
Good, really good. Time flies. This next one snuck up on me. Mm-hmm. It's like I got to get packed up this week and get ready to hit the road.
We started this podcast, it was 11/11, and I was asking Ian what he thinks of angel numbers. There's a big movement out there that really believes in them.
Yeah, I only make decisions on angel numbers. I wake up at 666 every morning. Kidding.
Jesus Christ.
That's not a time.
That's not even possible.
That's not a time.
It's ridiculous.
I think they're cool, and I certainly am. I'm a big believer in synchronicities and in kind of flow state. I don't necessarily put a lot of stock into numbers and numerology, but I do think that meaning is imbued. Like meaning comes from us imbuing meaning, and so if you imbue meaning into 1111, there's meaning there, and if you imbue meaning into 369, there's meaning there. Aside from like any scientific sort of like backstory to it. So I'm a big believer in choosing carefully what meaning you imbue into what, and not letting like sort of evil hijack your sense of meaning, so to speak.
How
Because
so?
I think that, for example, there's all these conspiracy theories around like Freemasonry and the numbers that they use and the symbols that they use and stuff like that. And to a certain extent, like it matters what evil people are imbuing symbology and stuff into, but it sort of gets turned into this like conspiracy theory of like the Satanists are like using these secret hand signals, but like one of like a lot of those hand signals or like symbologies, numerologies are also things that were and are like symbols of other things throughout history too, like A-OK. Like this is, I think, has been turned into a Nazi symbol. It's been turned into like a Illuminati symbol. Like they put it over their eye, stuff like that.
It's also a good game to play with your boys.
Exactly, right?
You ever play that
game? Not really, actually. I was not really in like the bro crowd when I was younger. I knew a lot of people that did play that game. But like it's like I'm hesitant to give over my sense of meaning to other people's decisions about meaning. And I'm not necessarily a believer that just because like some Satanist religion thinks there's X meaning in something, even if there is like historical reason of people thinking that in the past, I don't think that necessarily means that that's the only meaning something will ever have. I don't think that those meanings are necessarily cosmic in nature. I think that in some ways we share a part in building that meaning every day.
What would you say to people that regularly like look down at their phone and it's 222 555? What if this is happening on a dozen a day occurrences?
In some, I don't know. In some ways, you find what you look for, and when you're looking for meaning, when you're looking for symbology and synchronicity, you find it. But I also, hand in hand, I do believe that when you are in flow in life, like when you are spiritually tuned in and like living a life of like high vibration, I guess would be a woo-woo way to say it. I do think that you sort of get like hooked into the vibration of everything and the flow of everything. And I think that you do start to see more synchronicity when you're living life sort of like on the path.
So you think it could just be being in tune with the matrix as opposed to having angels looking out for you
and like
guiding you?
What's the difference, right? Like in my mind, like same, sort of. It's just different words for the same thing. And again, that's like, no science involved in that. That's just me choosing to imbue that meaning, because that meaning is a good heuristic for helping me live a better life and helping me sort of like look for synchronicity, look for the feeling of like flow state, look for things that are going right. And then when you see them, those confirm like, oh, nice job. Like keep doing right. Like keep, on the path. And it sort of becomes like a little mini game of like stay in flow, like stay on the wave, stay on the board.
Have you ever noticed any strange occurrences in your life with, what you're doing is very impactful with the world. So you would think people that have a platform or a voice that many are going to be listening to, they would probably get more signs that they're doing the right thing, or maybe they're not doing the right thing?
Yeah, it depends what you call a sign. Like, I don't think that I live a life with any particular amount of like 11/11s in it, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I certainly live a life with a lot of synchronicity and a lot of good fortune and a lot of things happening for me that I could never explain and never like dream of happening. I mean, just every single step along my career has been incredibly fortunate and synchronistic, and sort of the interplay of me like working hard and doing like apparently the right thing, and then getting met with opportunities that most
time.
people could never imagine. And it really has been at the right time over and over and over, in ways that I often didn't even understand at the time. So,
do you remember one in particular that stands out to you?
I mean, one that's relevant here is just Joe texting me to have me on his podcast. And I mean, like, Joe gets turned into a meme or like a non-human entity in the, media world. He becomes this like archetypal like celebrity guy that like people disembody. But he's just a dude and he's cool. But because of that sort of celebrity status he has in this world, he gets used in conversation all the time of like, I was coming up and people are like, when are you going on Rogan? When are you going to go on Rogan, bro? And it's like, like, when are you going to go on any other podcast? It's like, these are all just, we're all just doing this stuff.
That's like the big show, though,
Exactly,
in most people's minds.
And it's, they're not wrong. But so there's a lot of like hype around it. And I had always just said like, it'll happen, I'm sure. I can feel this trajectory, and I'm sure that I'll meet him and go on his podcast at some point. And I'm sure it'll be awesome. But it'll happen when it's supposed to happen. It's like, you don't reach out and like try to force that to happen. You don't like start like emailing and requesting like, hi, I'm very important, can I please talk to you?
You're right.
It's like, no. You just do your thing, and if you provide value, then you'll be received with that. And so I was in LA when it was on fire in January and hated it, and was in a really shitty little spot and didn't know anyone in the area, and everything was on fire and it was sucked. And I was like, man, I'm getting out of here. And I had already been planning on going to Austin. And I started looking at Airbnb prices in Austin, and holy shit, Austin is full of epic Airbnbs. Like, the Airbnb world in Austin is super cool.
Damn.
And especially compared to LA where I was at. And so I was like, for the same price as one little box, like one little room with everything in one little studio room, I was like getting a freaking 2-story house with a pool in Austin.
Nice.
So I was like, get me to Austin, reserved in Austin. And then 2 days later, Joe texted me and was like, hey, I feel like we should meet up. And like, I feel like I should have you on.
How do you get your number?
I guess it was on Twitter.
Okay.
He DM'd me on Twitter because he had started following me, was watching my stuff or something.
Yeah.
And
I had a lot of people asking like, hey, how do I get on Joe's podcast? Or who do I talk to? And I'm like,
just do good work.
yeah.
Just do good work. I think that a lot of people try to force those things to happen. Like, they try to force their way into success. They try to force their way into like what they see as the goal.
Yeah.
And I am way more of the believer that you flow into success and you flow into the goal. And you do that by producing good work, by doing whatever you're doing at high quality, by doing your best. And then that is apparent. Like, hard work speaks for itself and production speaks for itself. So that was one synchronicity where it was like things like that happen a lot where, like, I had already been planning to go to Nashville and had hit Candace up and been like, hey, I feel like we should just meet and like hang while I'm there, because we had been kind of going back and forth on content. And then she was like, she kind of just was like, cool, he's coming on my podcast. And she just like told her audience that I was coming on the podcast. I was like, okay, I guess I'm going on the podcast.
And this was your first time going on somebody else's?
On Candace's show? No, just first time going on Candace's.
Okay.
And but then I go on her podcast and the audience is like, we love this guy. He should cover for you when you're on maternity leave. And then she was like, oh, that's not a bad idea. And she asked me. So like, things just happen when you put your best foot forward and don't try to ask for more than you deserve, and don't try to like, be the kind of person that when like, when you interact with other people and you're left with like a good taste after interacting with them, just like, they were cool. Like, they were kind and they were humble and they weren't like pushy or weird or trying to get something from me, especially in this industry with like someone like Joe or Candace, who there's always a million people trying to get things from them.
Yeah.
Like, you don't like, think about what kind of person you're being to all these other people that you're interacting with. And if you just do your best, I think things flow.
Yeah.
So that's the way I see it.
Yeah. Well, let's jump right into the good stuff, because I know everybody that's tuning into this wants to know what the fuck is going on with Nick Fuentes. Tucker Carlson, Candace Owen, and now Charlie Kirk's name's getting thrown in. It's like a royal rumble of conservative influencers. Yeah. I saw your video you dropped earlier today. You touched on it quite a bit. I wanted to open this forum up to you to elaborate.
Yeah, it's it's a big can of worms.
Yeah.
And for anyone that doesn't know, there's infinite context. We can never explain all of it. But Nick Fuentes is a whole context to his own that I don't think anyone really has the full context on. He's been doing his thing kind of off in the shadows because he got so shadow banned and so taken down from everything. He's been doing that for like 8 years or something. I think it's almost 10 years since he like really started. And he's young. He's in his mid-20s. And he's really smart. And he said a lot of shit over the years that's super controversial. But, you know, he's a very polarizing guy. And he's never been afraid to call out, you know, bullshit, to call out people that he sees as inauthentic or that aren't with it. And he kind of is like it's the Jews guy. And he's been growing more and more, especially ever since X started back up. And then he got let back into X, like, you know, 6 months in or something. And there was this big Twitter space where like Andrew Tate was there and Alex Jones was there. And then a bunch of the liberals came out, like Destiny came out. It was like a whole bunch of like big, just like characters. And there were some funny Twitter, you know, spaces that ensued, but he started to grow back up since then and become more and more prominent again. And his clips circulate all the time. And he sort of is this like underground movement. And he's got this whole following of people called groypers, that are like the anonymous frog accounts that are always posting Nazi shit on and like calling people faggots on Twitter, from behind the frog accounts. And they are like, holy shit, a force to be like, man, the groypers are funny. I like them, mostly. and there's this other thing that's been happening simultaneous to Nick sort of like coming back into the light a little bit and back into the mainstream a little bit, from being forced out, is that on the side, Tucker's been a big part of this, but there's been other people that are just sort of like, everyone kind of has their own opinion of him. And there's been some that are sort of like, don't talk to him. Like, don't listen to him. Like, he is delegitimizing like genuine criticisms of Israel or genuine criticisms of neocons and genuine criticisms. And like, you don't want to associate with him. And then it broke out on Tucker's podcast where he just like, him and Candace, who had both sort of been beefing with Nick specifically. And Candace had just had him on her show and it'd been awkward and the whole thing.
Yeah, I heard it fell flat.
It was a little confrontational. And I haven't spoken to Candace about it. I'd be curious what her perspective on it all is right now. But because they were both kind of in beef, Tucker just like went straight in on the podcast and just sort of like started laying into Nick and like said a lot of the quiet stuff out loud that he sort of has been in that camp of, but has never really like said it in public. And sort of called Nick a fed and like this like gay kid in the basement that's like, who is this guy? Like, he's just delegitimizing like the real voice.
Yeah, and made fun of him because he's from Chicago. And
that was a mistake, a big mistake. Not only because it's just kind of like a low blow. It's just like not good form to, if you're going to go after someone, sort of like influencer to influencer, so to speak, in this world, just like the nature of the game is that you better be right, you better have receipts, and it better be the kind of thing that it actually matters. It's not like a little petty thing. Like, you don't just like go after people. Because it looks bad. It's not a good move to just go attacking other people online, inevitably.
Well, and it certainly looks bad when you're older, you're of the old guard, and there's a young kid who's 26 years old that's coming in and he speaks very eloquently. He's definitely very studied, right? And he comes in and he's like stirring the pot. And then you're coming down from, you know, your attic and making fun of this kid and like calling him names. And it wasn't even like he was calling out what Nick was saying. He was just making fun of him personally. Yeah. He's calling him gay. Lives in his mom's basement, you know, from Chicago, you know, like it's just ridiculous. It's like, that's such a bad look for him. Yeah, you are so much higher and bigger than Nick Fuentes. Why are you doing this? There has to be a reason. And we all smell it because, you know, that's a desperate move he just did. Why is he doing that?
Yeah, it was definitely the definition of an unforced error. And I would bet that Tucker would agree with that at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, just to step out of the morals of it all for a second, It's a tough game. If you're going to throw shade at someone, if you're going to try to like outmaneuver someone in the public square, it's a hard game because everything is public and every word you say matters. And the way you say it, and you can only say it once, and you're in the middle of a podcast. And so like, even if Tucker was like working for the CIA directly and was like on a smear campaign of Nick Fuentes, still a super hard job to accomplish. And I'm not saying that's what he's doing, but it's, he made a mistake and he did it all wrong, whatever the heck he was trying to do, whether it was like just like a loose cannon kind of a day in his brain where he said some dumb shit, or whether it was like an actual like thought up smear that he was trying to like level correctly. Didn't do it right.
And that happens. We all have off days and say dumb shit. It's normal.
But then Nick fired the fuck back. Like Nick put down two of the most powerful, talented performances of oration that have been on the internet in the last like 5 years. And the first one really directly aimed at Tucker and his dad and Tucker's family and his history that is very clearly like straight from the CIA. Whether he's like officially in the CIA today or not, it's pretty clear from the evidence that came out that was always kind of public. It just had never really been like dug through all at once. That you're not the son of one of the most influential and successful CIA operatives of, you know, the Cold War that then grows up like flying around the world with your dad and like your helicopter's going down on that vacation. And on that one, you're like in some, like in Bosnia or something. And you're like in this picture, you're holding an AK-47. And in that picture, it's like, you don't get that sort of early life history and not be connected to the
Most
CIA
people,
in some form.
Most high school kids aren't vacationing in Venezuela.
Exactly.
Okay, all right.
And so it, like, let's be clear. Not all CIA is bad. Like, not all CIA, like, you know, like, there's every branch of our military and our intel agencies and all of it, like, they all are very complex organizations with a lot of people involved. And a lot of them are true patriots. And even a lot of the people that have been in the CIA over history that did things that when you look back at them, they're like, that's the deep state. Like, oh, that was evil. Like, oh, you read our mail. Oh, you, like, bought out our news companies and, like, all these things. Yeah. But a lot of those things were populated by patriots as well that either got it sucked up into an operation that they didn't have control over or were misguided or thought they were doing right but didn't. Or like some of those operations did very important things for the country but still look bad in hindsight.
Sure.
Some of them were just fucking evil.
Right. Well,
but like it's not black and white, right? Like just because Tucker's dad was in the CIA running Voice of America and all this stuff like does not mean he was an evil man. And just because Tucker grew up around that doesn't mean he's an evil man. But it does mean that there's layers to what's going on here and that there's layers to Tucker's associations and to Tucker's perspective on the world and his agendas. And that's kind of what Nick was pointing out. And Tucker also made another unforced error by saying that he didn't know that his dad was CIA until he died. His dad died, just like this year. Which we know is not true because Tucker's on camera previously over the years saying directly that he knew his dad was
as early as last year.
Yeah. And as well as long before that. And so he just volunteered that out of nowhere, almost like trying to explain something out before it became a question of like trying to make up and it's like, dude, whoops, big mistake. And so now there's this big battle royale in the conservative influencer space, which is like, in some ways it feels like it's just drama, but in a lot of ways it's much deeper than that because like these things matter. It's like, imagine if the New York Times, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CBS, imagine if they were all at war with each other and at the end of it, you know, 5 of them would be destroyed and the other one would rule.
Yeah.
Right? That matters. That's going to change the landscape of media. That's going to change the landscape of information and journalism. Power, everything going forwards. And that's what we're sort of feeling right now in the conservative influencer space because it's not just those 3. It's like Charlie Kirk is drug into it because Nick has been asking to debate Charlie for years now about Israel. And Charlie just runs away and makes up bullshit excuses and, you know, brags about how many donors he has and all this bullshit.
Oh, yeah. I saw that video.
That clip was so atrocious.
I got 1,000 employees and...
We win. they blame the Jews. He's just a lot of jealousy there. A lot of jealousy.
It's like, what?
Like,
Why?
okay, Charlie. Yeah, Nick is jealous of how many Jewish people donate to your organization.
The fact that this Nick Fuentes kid, 26-year-old, is causing such a stir in these powerful influencers. These aren't nobodies. Like,
These are deep establishment figures.
Exactly. And so that's what, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh, he's making them all slip up. This is interesting.
And it's all because of one simple question that no one can confront. It's like, what's up with the Jewish stuff?
Yeah.
Like, what's up with the Jewish stuff? And it's complicated because Tucker's sort of like core criticism, I think, we're not totally clear on what Tucker's criticism is because it was mixed up with like character attack. But I think that it's sort of that Nick goes about asking good questions in the wrong way. That like he is too abrasive and too racist and racial and too focused on the Jewish thing and instead of like on the policy and on the other underlying stuff. And it's like going to turn everyone off to the important questions. And it's going to make it easy to smear everyone that talks about this stuff and ostracize them and call them all crazy. And it's like in the past that worked. In the past that was how it was. Like that's what they did with Alex Jones. They like, make him the crazy Sandy Hook guy, then everyone that talks to Alex Jones is crazy. But everything that Alex says is crazy.
But all they do is fuel his fire.
Exactly.
They just made this fire even bigger by trying to talk shit.
And even if that strategy of that they're worried, that Tucker's allegedly worried that Nick Fuentes is going to like muddy the waters, even if that was true, like it's not true is what I'm trying to say. It's not true anymore. It used to be true. That used to be one of their main strategies, but it's just not true anymore. Like Nick Fuentes is far from the most crazy person on the internet. Like a bunch of the lefties that are very mainstream, platformed all the time, have said things 100 times as atrocious as Nick Fuentes has. Like very mainstream people. Like one of our senators, Randy Fine, said, "Let the streets run with the blood of Gaza." Ooh. Like in public. That tweet is still up. Like starve them all. Nick Fuentes is far from the most controversial person on the internet. And
so what is it then?
Right? What is it?
What is it?
And it's and to everyone watching, it's obviously just the one question. It's just the one thing that Nick talks about in a way that no one else talks about, and it's the Jewish thing. Like, what's up with the Jewish stuff?
They see him as a very big threat.
Yeah.
And I think it's because he's got a powerful voice and he speaks with a lot of passion. And it doesn't take a genius to recognize talent. You know what I mean? To recognize authenticity and somebody being real. And, that speech that he put out in response to Candace and Tucker's podcast where they were talking shit about him, basically just stupid bullshit. Like, I don't take sides on anything. But when I saw Nick's response to them, and then I saw the movement behind that and how they started like putting music behind this and like that's a one in a lifetime voice that you're seeing emerge in front of the whole world. Yeah. Whether you like it or not, whether Tucker agrees with them or likes him, whether Charlie Kirk hates him, it doesn't fucking matter. This kid is going to be big and there's nothing they can do about it. And it's sad to me to see them teaming up and attacking a younger kid like this, because that's exactly what the Democrats did to conservative voices for the last 4 years. Like, they're doing the same thing that we fucking hated them for, or you were talking shit about them for doing to y'all. And now y'all are doing the same thing to this young kid, and he's on your own team. That's what's even worse about it. You guys are on the same team. Maybe you don't see eye to eye on topics, but you're spot on. It's because the JEW word is involved in this.
And I mean, you could argue that Nick is even more on the team than either of them. Certainly more on the team than Charlie Kirk, who Charlie Kirk is like all tied into Israeli donors and Israeli interests that like he can't disentangle from. And it's just obvious, and we know it, that if you're talking about conservative America First values, Nick's show is literally called America First for damn good reason. And he is very much America First. And you can take issue with his stance on sort of like whiteness and on race and all that, his stance on women. Certainly lots of great critiques and important conversations to have. But like, you can't argue that Nick is not America First. Whereas with Charlie Kirk, it's pretty easy to argue that Charlie Kirk is America First, but, asterisks.
What's the but?
Israel.
Yeah.
The but is that he runs Turning Point USA, that was founded on Jewish money by Jewish donors from Israel with huge Zionist influence. And they are the heart and soul of that whole organization. And they are front and center at every event. They're often the primary speakers at lots of these events. It's just obvious. And when the thing about Nick is that, like, there's lots of smart kids on the internet. There's lots of smart people on the internet that are super highly intelligent, that are good at what they do, that aren't breaking everything. And the thing that is so different, in my opinion, about Nick is that in this game, when you find a question that is just so obviously a window into a truth that is hidden, and there's like really no way around it, you win. You just win. You immediately win. When you find a deception, and usually these are things that no one is even thinking about. And a great example is Candace and the Macrons, the president of France.
Yeah.
It wasn't Candace's question at first. It was Xavier Bussard and these other French journalists. But then Candace stumbled across this French reporting of, like, the first lady of France is a man, which sounds insane.
I've always been an active guy, training, pushing myself. But once I learned how caffeine forces your body into that fight or flight mode, I realized it was wrecking my recovery. I'd get the boost, but I couldn't really rest. That's when I came across methylene blue. It gives me clean energy, sharper focus, and I could still recover. Honestly, it changed everything for me in the gym, in business, and in life. Then I discovered alpha lipoic acid. On its own, it's a strong nootropic, boosting choline, which drives brain and body performance. But when you combine it with methylene blue, it's on another level. That's why I worked with the partner to create Magic Bullet, methylene blue plus ALA. For me, methylene blue was powerful on its own, but with ALA, it's the only way I do it now. Right now at bluevitality.com, you can pick up a full bottle of Magic Bullet for just $39.95. Use my promo code SJNCO to get 20% off the regular price. If you're serious about your training, your focus, or your recovery, this is the way to go.
And it's like no one would ever even think to bring that up or to ask that question. But once she found the reporting that gave the evidence that showed the thing, she had a question that is unanswerable. It's a question that is an immediate KO because there's no way to address it. You can't even touch the question. If you're the French government, any amount of touching that question is just exposes you more and more and more and more. And so there's like questions that get into the heart of like major geopolitical deception. And if you get the right question, it's a kill shot. And it causes the control apparatus to do everything it can to squirm away and to try to ostracize you and, you know, slander you or prosecute you or shut you up, put you away, whatever it is. And that is the behavior we're watching around Nick Fuentes. We're watching this behavior of like, get him out, kill him, like get him away, whatever we can do to not engage with the question. And in Nick's case, the question's a little more nebulous, I think. I don't think it's as simple as like, do you have a penis? Like in Nick's case, the question is more like this, like, what's wrong with white identity? Yeah. Like, what's wrong with white people being proud of being white? And there's obviously, he talks a lot about Jewish people and about the Jewish thing in American politics and the influence there and Israel and all that, which is tied into it. But it's in some ways, I'm not sure that that's actually as threatening of a piece of what Nick Fuentes is as the conversation about whiteness. And the two interplay a lot because it's like when Nick asks these questions, the truth that can't be avoided that people watch and listen, and if you actually listen, you hear and see that, well, if it's right for Jewish people to have a Jewish state that's like ordained to them by God and that Jewish nationalism is like super great, then why is it not okay for white people to have a white state that's like all, you know?
It goes for all cultures too.
Right? Like, aren't we supposed to be proud of like the Mayan culture and their Mayan villages and helping them to rebuild their Mayan identity? Aren't we supposed to be like helping Africa, like establish an African identity? Like, and obviously all the different countries and cultures in Africa, aren't they supposed to flourish in their own ways? Like, isn't this all to be celebrated? Like, aren't Europeans supposed to be European and Middle Easterners supposed to be Middle Eastern and like be proud of their culture and all this? And diversity, like, is, you know, diversity is the name of the game these days. Yeah. Diversity is this weird word that is so turned backwards because when diversity and the modern context means like mix everyone together.
Right.
But if you have a bunch of piles of colored sand, you only have colored sand as long as you don't mix it all together.
Right.
The
True.
moment you mix it all together, you don't have colored sand anymore. You just have sand.
Yeah.
Right. And so if we take all of these diverse cultures and mash them all together, that's not diversity. That's homogeny. And Nick is first to point out that like all of this racial mixing in our countries is destroying our cultural identities, and it's actually destroying the diversity of our world and destroying how you have your spot there and your spot there and you there and you there, and we're all like good with who we are. And simultaneously he's pointing out that that's true all over white world. Like the white countries are all, you have to be diversity, but like not the Jewish country. Like that is Jewish. And so it's like an uncomfortable question. And when he's asking it, he's getting that response of like, we can't touch that question.
Yeah.
Which makes everyone think like, interesting. Why is that such a toxic question to the establishment?
Right. Yeah.
Why would that be toxic?
We can all see it too.
Yeah.
Everybody can see what they're trying to do.
Yeah,
The
and
whole
if, like-
Sydney Sweeney thing, I think, is based around the exact same
exact same
conversation. It's not okay to be white. It's not okay to be proud of being white.
Yep.
It had to do with her denim jeans. Just like in our last podcast, we
It was
wore
clever advertising.
Yeah, it's just
Funny as
clever advertising. It was genius, but they took it and they turned it into something because it's not okay to be white anymore. You know,
Company owned by a Jewish person, obviously.
Yeah.
Making a lot of money.
no shit, right?
Yep.
The irony
Not
of
owned
that.
not owned by a white guy. Certainly not a Nazi in charge of that one. But it's like it's one of those things that we can all see. It's in front of everyone's faces. It's very present in all of our lives. And it's just it starts to peel back layers of onions that you didn't even know were there. And the big one is obviously World War II and the Nazis and sort of like the propaganda, the way that we're all educated in school. And you start to realize that like from this one question that Nick raises, you start to just incidentally wind up confronting all of the most taboo subjects in our white American culture today. And it's like, wait a minute, like is it a coincidence that this question touches on all these taboos, or are all these taboos built around this question intentionally to keep you from getting to this question?
It's a great question.
Right? Because it's awfully weird that it's a weird coincidence that all of the most taboo topics that you're not allowed to touch and breach, which is like racism, white nationalism, Nazism, Hitler, World War II, the Holocaust, Jewish identity, Jewish like power, all of those things center around this one central like line of reasoning.
Don't talk about it.
Don't talk about any of that, and certainly don't get through to the core question. And so when Nick is like just in this core question, completely unconcerned, just talking completely freely, like not even giving a shit how people see him, like he's already the bad guy, he's not scared. It just like draws people in like moths to a light, even if you don't agree with him completely. And I don't agree with him completely, though I do agree with a lot of his points. Like everyone just can't help but see and hear and be like, wow.
Yeah.
This is wild, right? And so it's changing everything. It's changing the landscape. It's exposing people in the conservative world. It's just exposing a lot about what's really going on. And I'm very curious to see what gets done about it. I'm curious to see how Tucker and Candace respond. Because to be clear, like I'm great friends with Candace, and I totally love and respect her and her whole team. And
have you talked to her about this situation?
No, not about this one specifically. I'm a little scared too. I don't want to like because I know that she's like
she got caught up in the middle though. It feels
a little bit, but she was also like beefing with Nick on her own, and like he had been a total dick to her, and she had been kind of a dick to him, and they're just like fighting, and I get it that like he's talking shit about her and her husband and like race mixing, and he's like making jokes about like the sexual tension between them. It's like the kind of stuff where it's like Candace is like a proud Catholic woman. She's like not going to stand for that shit. Like,
yeah,
that's
it's in
like
bad taste.
It's kind of in bad taste. It's kind of rude. So it's like Nick doesn't. I don't think that Nick gives a shit. I think he's just like fuck it, like blah. Yeah. But it's like as my friend, it's like I totally feel how Candace is like offended by that shit, and it's like won't stand for that. And so I don't hold a lot of hope that they're gonna like get together and like not be mad at each other over that. But I hope that she can have the perspective to see that like Like she doesn't need to feed into this and doesn't need to like put her energy to this. Like ultimately, like her and Nick are pretty much on the same team. No matter how much Nick pokes at her. And I think that this is an issue on our whole side, and it's an issue that I think Nick also has, is that so many of us are so quick to attack each other over little details that don't ultimately matter. And a good example is the Frankists, or in Alex Jones's case, the globalists, is that Nick's people are, and Nick himself, are very well known for like calling out everyone that like makes up alternative words for the Jews. Because the way that Nick sees it is it's like, it all comes back to the Jews. And there's lots of other ways to see it. And it's like, I don't know who's right, but I know that like Alex Jones intentionally goes with a much wider scope and says like the globalists are the ones controlling the world because yeah, a lot of them are Jewish, but a lot of them are like white people and a lot of them are like Saudi Arabian people and a lot of them are Russians and all these other things, right? And so there's this big debate over like who controls the world. And Candace has this whole line of like inquiry of Frankists, which is a really interesting like historical offshoot of Judaism that was like a cult that that basically, if I remember correctly, it's like the core belief was that we need to sin in order to absolve the world of their sins, and so by sinning we do good, and that flourished into this whole like essentially satanic off branching of Judaism that then they. Part of their doctrine was to convert to other religions and to infiltrate other religions.
That's first off,
interesting.
That's the funniest fucking rule I've ever heard. We have to sin to absolve everybody else of their sins.
Like you can just hear the perverted dad, like, you know, trying to explain that to his like 14-year-old daughter. Like, listen, sweetie, I'm not evil. I'm doing a good thing. Fucking monster.
This is for you, not for me.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. Yeah. It's like, wow, I can actually imagine some fucked up dudes doing that.
Oh yeah. And whatever it takes to justify what you're doing.
And it's a well-documented piece of history that happened. And Candace has this really interesting theory that she digs into a fair bit that she's talked about in on camera a bit and a bunch actually, I guess. But she's even gone further behind, like off camera so far. And it's fascinating. And it's like a question of just like, yeah, the Frankist thing happened. And we know that a bunch of them like dispersed off into these other religions and like were very secretive about what they were doing. And she kind of theorizes that like, fuck, maybe they grew into this like a huge piece of this satanic cabal that's running the world. Like maybe they are this like deep layer.
Well, when you're able to absolve yourself of your sins like that, that's the problem. If your religion says, hey, you can sin as much as you want, you're doing the world a favor.
Not just can, you should.
Yeah, exactly. You should be sinning. You should be going out there doing bad things because
biggest amount of
the world needs you to sin. That's scary because then your conscience goes out the window. Anything you do is like, well, fuck. Hey, we need to kill this guy to shut him up. Go kill him.
Great.
No big deal.
I mean, and you give that power to a billionaire that has the power to influence huge amounts of the world, and suddenly you're like, oh shit. So this is like one of Candace's like kind of like pet theories, and it's not like she thinks like. It's not like she's like dying on this hill, but it's like a thought. It's like, we should look into this. And Nick and his people are very much like, you think it's the fucking Frankist, you idiot. Like, it's the Jews. Just say the Jews. And it's like, so there's like this differing of opinion about a piece of a puzzle. That's like, ultimately that does not, like, it doesn't matter that much. Like, because the way that I see it, too many people in these chairs in front of these cameras think about what I say. And it doesn't matter what you say. It matters what gets heard from the other side of the screen, right? And so if someone on the other side of the screen hears Candace talk about the Frankists, they're going to get curious and start asking questions about these powerful people that do these weird things. They're going to learn this history about this sect of Judaism that splintered off, and they're going to start learning about like Jewish Kabbalah and all these other things. And it's going to lead them down all these interesting rabbit holes into all this learning about, you know, all this crazy shit that's involved in bad people that rule the world.
Yeah,
that's fine. That does, even if she's wrong about the Frankist thing, and it's not the Frankists that rule the world today, the viewer is still going to learn some really interesting shit about the world, and they're not going to like get brainwashed by it. And if it's like if Nick is right, and like they listen to him and they start researching this stuff, it's like that's going to be good too. As long as you're working towards truth, it's okay to have differences of opinion, and it's okay to have differences about like how you go about it. Yeah. That's why it's like weird that Tucker's like attacking Nick so hard. It's like Nick's not hurting you. Like Nick's not smearing you. Like you don't have anything to do with Nick. And like if Tucker's really concerned about America first and about the influence of Israel and the Israel lobby and like the Federal Reserve and all these things, Nick is an ally in all of that.
Yeah.
Nick is a strong voice for all those things amongst the young people. And like, even if he goes about it in a slightly different way than Tucker, like Tucker should be excited for that.
No, he's doing the same thing Tucker does.
Right.
He's asking questions.
Right?
That's all he's doing. He's asking questions. He's presenting facts. He brings receipts. You know, I don't like to take sides on these things. I like to just observe. You know, I don't ever want to go too far in any one direction. I just find the whole thing fascinating. All three of them, including Charlie Kirk, I find they're all fascinating to me in their own right. And I understand. I can see by you watch them longer than 2 minutes, you can understand why they have a strong following, a strong base. But what I see with Nick coming into this scene now, and like you said, he's been doing this for a few years, but hearing his name on mainstream kind of bigger
He's
things,
really blown back up. Yeah.
I see personally. I hear the rumblings of a changing, like, tectonic shift of what's going on in the conservative influencer side, and which I think is good, because sometimes you don't realize there's a problem until something like this happens.
Oh, yeah.
And you realize, oh, fuck, are all these people in cahoots? Have they all been in cahoots this whole time? And they're the ones trying to be the voice that's like independent. We do our own thinking. We don't let mainstream media tell us what to think. But wait, you're all singing the same song right now. You're all attacking just the way, you know, CNN, NBC, fucking CBS, how they all fucking did the same thing to Trump and all the conservative followers and MAGA. And they're still doing it to this day. Yep. Now you're doing it to your own kind. So this is like that dark horse that's coming up, and it's coming up fucking fast. And they realize there's nothing they can do about it because the movement is growing, and it is a voice. He is right. He's like, there is this voice of this new generation that's coming up that they're fed up. They've been in this fucking, this environment where the wokeness, like you said it in your video, they are like, wokeness got sprung on us. We're older. Yeah. Shit was normal, and then all of a sudden wokeness hit, and we're like, what the fuck is this? And before, by the time
we didn't know what to do about it, how to deal with it.
Yeah, he grew up in that whole fucking world.
Yeah.
He was a little kid when we were going through that shit for the first time.
Yep.
So for him, he grew up in this, and he's been able to form his entire ideology and philosophy around what we thought was like a horrible chapter that would just go away.
And people younger than Nick are even more awake to it. Like Nick, I think, is 26 or 27. Those like 20-year-olds and stuff, they're fucking way past it. Like young people see through this shit. Mm-hmm. Especially young people that grew up online. Like, I don't know if you've ever been in like a, I'm going to date myself, but like a Halo or Call of Duty, like, no, I'm all good. Like game where you're like all chatting and shit. It's unhinged. Dudes playing video games online, chatting together, they will say the craziest shit. And when you're in those kind of like unhinged environments, you just get you get real talk. And like people online, like young kids online, they just real talk. Like they're not fucking scared. They're not getting canceled. They don't give a shit. Their life has no value anyways, the way they see it. Like they have no chance of ever having a home, no chance of ever having a successful career, no chance of getting ahead. Like they're already in debt by the time they're like 17. And the way that like people in their 20s right now are feeling, like the way that people in their 30s are feeling for the most part about the economy and about their like life outlook is like, fuck it. It's not like I'm going to lose anything. Like, what are you going to take from me? I have nothing. And I have no hope. And
most of their parents don't even own their own home anymore. Like,
and so it's like, how are you going to, like, that's a generation that's going to grow up just, like, fully ready for truth. Like, fully over all the lies and the bullshit.
They have nothing that they're trying to protect.
Yeah, and that's also what you're describing here, this, like, this generation, this movement, this shift that's coming is that this structure, the powers that be, have built an entire generation of disenfranchised Americans that have no hope, that have nothing. And so they will do anything to change that, right? And they are growing up more and more and more now, like, into a space where, like, I don't think that the Charlie Kirks and the Tucker Carlsons and the, like, this old guard of media, I don't think they have any sense of how big that generation is and how powerful they are.
It's coming.
And how over it they are.
Yeah, I agree. And most of them don't even realize how over it they are until they start learning from people like Nick, right? That's able to organize all of their thoughts into a 2-hour fucking show. Yeah. Yeah, so it's very dangerous. I think he's maybe maybe that's why they're attacking him so hard is they see the writing on the wall that this is a new movement, the youngest movement that's coming in strong. And here's the thing too is like these kids, for us, I didn't have the internet growing up. I didn't have a cell phone until college, right?
These kids have AI.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, dude.
This is wild. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. And I mean, they're trying to protect this as long as they can. I mean, we talked about, not to go way back, but when you were talking about the CIA and how it is very necessary, I do agree. When you are the country on this planet that everybody hates and wants to see get blown up and set on fire, and they want to see all of our citizens killed, you have no choice. You have to play dirty sometimes, and that's where the CIA can come in. And unfortunately, we don't want them meddling in all of our shit, but there's a reason there hasn't been another 9/11 since 9/11, and it's because these guys had to they had to get real dirty, right?
I would push back on that. I
Send
would
it.
disagree.
Send it.
The CIA was clearly covering for whatever happened in 9/11. Not the whole CIA, but factions within them. Like, we have very clear documentation that Able Danger, this program that was designated to watch Mohammed Atta and the terror cells that were coming over here, they had reams and reams of documentation. They were tracking these terrorists, and on multiple occasions, CIA officers intervened and stopped the communication of intel that needed to get from one place to the other, and was like, and from every indication, those terrorists had advance warning that they were being surveilled and moved around. And it also just so happens that there was these Israeli art student spy cells that got uncovered that were also just happened to sort of be in the exact same place as all of these Muslim terror cells, like moving around the country with them, surveilling them. And so there's like all these complex surveillance networks that were going on.
Do you think the CIA allowed 9/11 to happen?
I think that my closest guess right now, and it's definitely a guess because there's so many factors, we do not know what happened. But my closest guess right now is that I think that probably sort of Israeli deep state forces or actors sort of like fed the opportunity or the idea of 9/11 to bin Laden, or offered a partnership or some sort of like, nudge to get him to, go for the idea. Bin Laden or his cells probably had some involvement in the planning and the architecting of like the official stories version, which is this little tiny piece of what the whole thing was. But then around that, I think that there was huge amounts of Israeli and CIA surveillance to make sure that it was going to work and to make sure that no one got in the way. And when the Muslim terrorists, the Muslim terrorists were getting all their visas from a embassy run by the CIA in Saudi Arabia, I think it was. I could be mistaken on that. We have pretty clear documentation that all those terrorists were just given their visas like crazy by this one like sort of like diplomatic outpost, and which is well known that like the CIA gives out visas to terrorists all the time because we're always trying to use terrorists to do our dirty work all over the world. And then when they get to America, they have Israeli and CIA intelligence just like surrounding them and like keeping tabs on them, but they're always somehow just kind of going on to the next thing. And then when you actually get to the event itself, aside from having FBI documentation of the dancing Israelis that were clearly filming the attack and knew about it in advance, and probably were just one of several film crews around, aside from that, like the whole cover-up of the building collapse, the metal getting shipped out, Building 7 collapsing, just all these like elements of the investigation and the setup of the investigation that were clearly there to obfuscate what really happened, that just like is not a thing that just terrorists could ever accomplish. And I think that everyone has a sense of it was some sort of an inside job. But I think there's this cognitive dissonance in the middle of the 9/11 question that doesn't really make sense. That how would you convince Americans to go along with that? Right?
Yeah.
Like, how would you ever convince CIA officers to help Muslim terrorists bomb thousands of American citizens in broad daylight and innocent civilians? That's like so evil. You can't imagine any network of CIA operatives being a part of that.
Exactly.
And then you realize it was Israel. And like, there was certainly some CIA involvement, but these operations are highly compartmentalized. I doubt that very many of the CIA assets really knew what they were a part of.
Interesting.
As well as probably the Israeli assets too. I bet that most of the Israeli assets just knew they were part of something. But like when you look at how Israelis speak about Americans and about, you know, Muslims and about everyone else, like Israelis have no problem saying totally bloodthirsty things about other parts of the world. And there's a famous clip on 9/11 of a Jewish woman in New York City that's being interviewed who's smiling and like happy. And they're like, "Why are you smiling?" And she basically says on camera live to the world, now America will know what we all deal with in Israel. Now America knows how it feels. And she's stoked. And there's no shortage of you can it's not hard to find Israeli people that are happy to give Americans a dose of the terrorism that Israelis live with.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, I can imagine.
And so that's where you start to get this missing link of like, that is an ally that would be okay with helping do this thing. For the greater good, obviously, because we need to go after Iraq and stabilize the Middle East for Israel's protection and all this stuff. And so I suspect that it was sort of like feed the idea to the patsy, Osama bin Laden and his networks. And whether they were working with Osama to be like, we will protect you through this or not, or whether they were just like, and make Osama think he's doing it all on his own, and then they're just sort of in the shadows around him to make sure it works. I think that they sort of like walked the ball to the end of the court and then held everyone back while they kicked it through the goal, and then quickly scrambled and covered everything up to be like, see, it was just those Muslim terrorists.
That's such a massive operation.
It's a massive operation.
Do you think
It's unreal.
Do you think they, if that's true, do you think they meant for the buildings to collapse?
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
Because here's the thing. I'm asking that question because you can accomplish the same thing without the buildings collapsing.
Well, what is the same thing? What
Going
was
to
it that
war.
That's not the only thing they needed to accomplish. I suspect that there were things in those buildings that needed to collapse, as in there was an awful lot of financial records in Building 7. There was an awful lot of financial records in that specific piece of the Pentagon that plane hit. That hit Donald, the office that was crunching the numbers on the missing money that Donald Rumsfeld had just talked about like the Pentagon's missing like 2-point-something trillion dollars. Right? And it just so happens to hit a secret wing, like a part of the Pentagon where Donald Rumsfeld has like sort of a secret program running to like audit the thing. It's like, and like in this that plane that hit the Pentagon, this dude that could not fly a Cessna apparently hijacks a like 747 or whatever, this big passenger plane, and flies it in this crazy arc, 360-degree spiral to come down at ground level, just skimming the ground over top of a city, and like fly it directly, curving parallel to hit right into the side of like a flat little building.
Wow.
Right into the wall of it. That's not possible.
If they meant to hit that part of the Pentagon.
Well, I mean, they meant to hit the Pentagon, right?
Yeah.
And like that's a very complicated flight path that
Yeah.
you can't just pull out of your ass. Is when you start to actually dig into the data, like the details of what happened. Like, for example, there's this whole consortium of architects and engineers that have been studying this and exposing it ever since, called Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. Their website is ae911truth.com. And they have compiled like hundreds of hours of footage and reports, documentation, testimony from professional architects and engineers, all about how it is structurally impossible. It's not possible for those buildings to collapse in that way. That was clearly controlled demolition that was assisted by some sort of pyrotechnic or explosive devices inside the buildings. And they have evidence in every direction, from studying the dust that shows little red flakes that seem to be some sort of nanothermitic kind of material that it's hard to analyze, but clearly there's like something in the dust that shows thermite style reactions. And then it's like the steel all gets shipped away, so we can't study the steel. But when you study like other, like for example, steel framed towers, like they came up with this complex explanation for how steel framed towers, we discovered that there's this like physics thing that when you hit a steel frame tower and you get a fire in the right way, the way they were built around this like steel core with the outsides, it's like, we just didn't realize that there can be this shearing effect that can just cause it all to go perfectly
down.
Which is like, like let's look at other steel framed constructions that have been hit by things before. And I just discovered this recently. I'm actually working on a report about 9/11 right now. There was a building in Poland, I think it was, in Warsaw, that during the Warsaw Rebellion in World War II, this is one of the earlier steel-framed towers in the world. So you would think it would be less well-constructed than the trade centers, right? And it was something like, I don't know, it was like not nearly as tall, but it was tall. It was like, 13 to 30 stories, And it became a like important piece of this rebellion back against the Nazis, where they like took it back over and flew this flag from it. And so like the Nazis were like bombarding the fuck out of it. And they shelled it with like hundreds of tons of mortar fire. Yeah. And you can see there's this famous photo afterwards where the whole building is like crooked, and all of the concrete has been blown off of it, and it's essentially just the steel frame with little pieces of concrete holding onto it, and it is still standing. And they have straightened it out and rebuilt it, and it's like still good. And it was hit by like thousands of shells of mortar fire. That's like steel frame construction. The Empire State Building was hit by a B-2 bomber back in the 40s, I think it was. You can find photos of it, and it just like puts a hole in it. And obviously the building was fine. Yeah. Right. Whereas Building 7, apparently debris from the trade centers hits Building 7, starts an office fire, and then Building 7 is just like,
I give up.
And the BBC reports on it in advance, and they're like standing there talking about how Building 7 has just collapsed, and in the background of the footage is Building 7 standing up.
Oh my god.
So they reported it like 30 minutes early.
Oh my god.
So there's all these things that just show a cover-up of something. And when you start to ask what's that something, the only explanations have to involve other intelligence agency operations, some sort of deep state operation, something going on. And so you start to ask, like, how could you possibly cover all that up? How could you possibly pull that many strings?
Well, maybe that's the whole point of it. They wanted to do something so big that they're like, this is impossible.
A lie so big that it can't be believed.
Exactly.
But there's another piece, and this is part of the report I'm working on right now, is that now we know that was at the heyday of Epstein's influence in this country. That was the peak of Epstein's political blackmail operation.
Interesting.
Right? And so if you have Israel conducting a piece of this complex, multifaceted terror attack on U.S. soil, and you have Jeffrey Epstein operating at the same time with his talons certainly in the Clinton White House, although by now it's Bush. But if you look at Bush's White House, it was just Israel firsters everywhere, all around. It was just a giant neocon convention. And you've got Jeffrey Epstein blackmailing like bankers and tech people and media people and government people. It's like, I don't know where the connection is, but I can't imagine it's a coincidence that they managed to cover up the biggest political cover-up, the biggest scandal in American history at the time.
Maybe that's how they got so many people to keep their mouth shut.
That's what I would assume, is that a lot of key players, I would assume.
There's videotapes of them with kids.
That were in on that cover-up. I think they were probably blackmailed to help. Because it's like, how do you convince an American to knowingly help cover that up?
Unless you got something on them.
Yeah. Or if you threaten my kids. That's like the other way that if you threaten me with something that can tear my life apart so much that I lose my wife and kids, or you just directly threaten my wife and kids, that's like the only two situations where I could imagine taking part in something like that. And even then, you're maybe a little questionable.
Switching topics here, was Obama banging his chef, the guy that drowned?
That's a good question.
Have you dug into this?
I have dug into it. I haven't dug into whether he was banging him or not because...
Did you realize how good of a swimmer this guy was?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've watched his swimming videos. I mean, there's a lot of... it's very common with conspiracy theories where the conspiracy angle of it that is true starts to get taken really far past what was true. So, like, some people will, like, make the claim that he was, like, an Olympic medalist swimmer.
Right.
Which, like, no, he wasn't that.
He was strong, though.
But he was a strong swimmer.
For a black guy.
He was working on it.
No offense,
he was posting it online. Like, he was posting videos of himself swimming laps. And he was clearly a good swimmer.
He's a strong swimmer.
And this dude drowns. And the thing about it, too, is, like, you don't even need to be able to swim to be able to float with a paddleboard. Like,
not only that,
he was paddleboarding.
It's 8 feet of water.
Yeah.
Sink down, kick off the ground, come back up, catch your breath until you get to the shore.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just like, it's not believable. And when I started to dig into it and do reporting on it, I think it was the most recent one is I was doing conspiracy theory trivia night up in Idaho, and I was writing a question about that one. And then I realized how many other, he's not the only like presidential chef to get whacked. A Clinton chef also mysteriously died in an accident while he was hiking in the mountains or something.
What the fuck?
There's been a couple chefs.
It's like they have quotas. Died. You have a quota. You have to kill one of your chefs. You have to start a war.
It's pretty wild. And I do think it's likely that there was something sexual. I would assume that it was probably more than one thing. Like, people in those positions ultimately get a lot of like little pieces of inside knowledge that are dangerous to know. But like, you can kind of maybe trust, like, we've got them locked down enough. He's not going to go talking about that. And even if he did, it wouldn't be solid enough. He doesn't have proof. But like, sometimes they accidentally stumble across something, or they get embroiled in something, or someone sticks the wrong thing in their butt. And then like, then they're like, oh, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah. They're threatening to go.
Whatever it is. And that's why I think the Macron story is so interesting, because Brigitte Macron, being a man, starts to make an awful lot of people look back at Michelle and think, if they could do it in France, like, why wouldn't they do it in America? And there's like some pretty weird footage of Michelle, and there's no footage of her. Like, I haven't dug into the Michelle as a man conspiracy theory as fully as I would need to make claims about it. So I don't know. But I'm curious.
I want you to dig into the one where she's dancing. I think it was on Ellen or Oprah.
Yeah, and she's got the dick swinging.
Yeah, I got to know if that's fucking CGI.
It's not CGI.
It's not CGI.
No, I mean, it's from before. Like, there was CGI at the time, but it's from before AI video. Like,
but somebody could have doctored it after CGI came.
I think it's likely that it has been enhanced a few times and made, like, giving her a big dong.
Yeah.
But
I mean, here's the thing. It could just be, her tampon fell out a little bit.
I don't think that's how tampons work, Shawn.
I mean, they're dancing. I don't know.
I
How do you know how tampons work? You don't know. They might have just slipped a little bit during dancing.
And start swanging around down there. I've done a lot of research about tampons, actually.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, dude, that was one of the first videos I made that went viral. Like, tampons changed my life.
Tell me
about this?
Tell me what you got.
So tampons completely
changed my life. That's gonna be the title.
I was doing this research about who owns all these different industries in our world right when I started on TikTok. This was the very first stuff I was doing. Is like, who owns the news and who owns big tech and who owns the car companies and all these things. And I was basically just sitting on my computer researching like top 10 biggest, agriculture companies, and then who owns all those. And then like 3 weeks into the whole thing, like right after I'd started on TikTok, I'm in the grocery store and I had just done this report on tampons and how they're full of toxic stuff and like how they're literally poisoning girls.
Oh.
And it's dark. And then I'm walking around and I'm like, wait a minute. Like, 2 and 2 goes together, and suddenly I realize, like, I should go to the tampon aisle and see who owns all those tampons. Like, I should go and just look at, when I'm in this town, what tampons can I buy, and do it in the visual of the aisle. And that was the first grocery store aisle that I did. Is I went and I took photos of the tampon aisle in this Winco back in my hometown, and I just like colored over the picture itself of like, this one's owned by this company and this one's owned by this company. I discovered that one of the main brands of tampons in America is owned by Energizer batteries, which is like, what? And I made a joke that they should name their sizes after battery sizes, because that would just be fucking hilarious. Like, you got that heavy flow, you get the D batteries.
Yeah, that I was gonna say.
And so those tampons, that tampon aisle, it just that video went super viral. It just like clicked for people in a way of like, this is the aisle. Like, we all go grocery shopping, and when you look at the grocery aisle, suddenly you can just imagine like, it's all bullshit, and you can see it. And so then I like went to the cereal aisle and the shampoo aisle and all those other grocery aisles, and that's what the tampons are. What started that whole thing.
And it's the buyer app, right? You're talking about your buyer.
Well, now I'm at the buyer app.
You incorporated that into the buyer app, though, right?
Yeah, essentially the buyer app is like the inevitable outcome of that research, because the way it started was I was just curious, like, who owns everything, and I'm looking at them, and then I'm going into the grocery stores and I'm marking them, but nothing's really happening with it. And people all along are like, dude, we need like a spreadsheet or something that we can like keep track of all this.
Yeah.
So eventually I'm like, all right, do the work. I'll make a spreadsheet. And I started making spreadsheets, and every video I'd update the spreadsheets with a new section, and like the spreadsheet was growing and growing and growing, and it was kind of clumsy, but it was like, you know, you could at least refer back to it and be like, all right, who owns, you know, Playtex? But ultimately everyone is like, dude, you should make an app. This should be an app, dude. Because imagine if you could just scan it and like know who owns it for real.
Right.
And because I was uncovering so many brands that are actually owned by like some evil motherfuckers that you would never like. You're supposed to think that this is like some natural, wholesome, like Burt's Bees is like natural, healthy. It's owned by Clorox, right? So it's like, the call all along was make this an app, but I can't build an app. I don't know how to build an app, and I also know that idea is so valuable. If you're not careful, that idea, corporations, like people are going to want to buy that out from under you. They're going to want to control that. That is like exactly the kind of idea that is going to get, you know, attacked because you're exposing all this bullshit. And so I was just very careful about who I would talk about it with and who I would work on it with and what I would. And so I just waited on it. And eventually a couple homies emailed me and were like, we're building the app. Do you want it? And I met them and they're the shit. And the app is the shit. And it's going live next month. And it's already in beta. I've got it in my phone and it's awesome. And they're super value aligned. So I'm stoked now. But it grew out of this idea of just like going into the grocery store aisles, taking photos of the aisle and just coloring on it.
Are you guys going to offer alternatives? So like say somebody scans one of their favorite products and then it's like, nope, this is owned. You don't trust me. You don't want to buy this shit. You don't know what their agenda is. Is it going to make recommendations to something else on the shelf?
A little bit. First thing is we're not going to tell people what to buy and what not to buy. We're very intentionally not giving rating scores or giving any sort of hierarchy to things. Mm-hmm. It's not my job to tell you what your values should be. Even if it's like, you know, Hidden Valley Ranch owned by Clorox. Not my job to tell you that you shouldn't buy it.
Yeah, it could just be diversification.
It's up to you, right? It's up to you.
You
know, you live your life. What matters is the information, just that you're informed. And this is what I think a lot of the other apps do sort of wrong, is they like assign a health score. Or they assign, and like, don't get me wrong, like we love, like Yuka is the big one that everyone talks about. Yuka is this app where you can like scan things and get like a healthiness score of what it is. Right. And like, I love what they've done, and they've opened up people's minds to thinking about their products more and thinking about what's in them more. But at the same time, it's like, how am I going to trust Yuka's rating score? Like, how am I going to trust that they're not selling rating scores?
True.
How am I going to trust that their morals align with my morals? Like, what if they think that seed oils are healthy and that they're rating everything with canola oil in it as like 100, and I'm like fucking beef tallow? So ultimately, the way that I see it is like, we can't overlay our values. We need to give you the information to enact your own values. And so what that looks like is giving you the information about who owns it, what's in it, all those things. But then also giving then we can give you alternative products. We're planning to do some sort of like give you the option to look for alternatives or something like that. But then also like filtering for ingredients is like, rather than us filtering out and like being like, these are all bad ingredients, this gets a bad score, is just let you pick your own filters of like, I want to like mark it red if it's, you know, seed oils or soy or additives, dyes, preservatives.
Oh, so you can
choose your own markers.
Interesting.
And then if you want it, if it's like good, I have mine to mark it green if it's got like, you know, avocado oil, beef tallow, butter, meat, stuff like that. So like I have mine set up to match my values. I have like 82 filters set right now. So when I scan a product, it'll show me the ingredients and it'll have it highlighted bright red or bright green, or I guess it's bright yellow or bright green, if it's like one of the ingredients I don't want or one of the ingredients that I do want. And it makes it super fast to not only learn who owns the product and who owns the company that owns that and like get all the way up into ownership, but also into like what's in it and all the rest of it. It's super chill, it's simple and fast and easy. And I find myself learning things where like I'll get lost in the little highlights of like when you find out who owns the company, we put a little spotlight in of like the history of that company and all their acquisitions and what they've done. And you start to get this, like, you can like get lost in like, oh shit, like Danone bought that other yogurt company, and like, oh shit, dude, that company is that butter company. Holy shit, dude, that butter, oh, they got bought out. Damn, dude. And then you're just like, I get lost in it. It's weird.
It's going to be crazy. I think that app's going to be big.
It's so simple and so effective, and it's just 3 of us. It's just 3 dudes.
Yeah.
And we're super like tight, and we're all value aligned, and there's no overhead. There's no like our programmer is an absolute freaking wizard nerd dude. He's like the coolest dude, and he's just like putting it together, and we're like on the media, the outreach, the outside of it, and like it's just so locked down and simple where there's like really no like there's no like leaks in the ship. There's no there's not really any angle of attack on it. There's not really any, there's no machine for like the machine to come after. Like,
what have you noticed from using it at the grocery store I'm sure you've been testing the beta, right? Okay. What have you been noticing as far as like some products? Because in my mind, I'm like, this is just big corporate. Every grocery store is filled with a bunch of fucking companies that have weird fucking parent companies, and they have weird ingredients that go in everything. Just like everything that's fed to us has weird shit, put in it. Like, what have you found some products that are like?
Oh yeah, totally. What I've noticed is that, how do you describe this? The nature of the industry, the grocery industry. This is kind of an emergent property, I think, of the industry. As in, no one planned it this way. This is just like when you get this whole complex food system all put together, and then the natural forces within it of like profit and demand and it all just works. You naturally wind up with a system where you sort of get clusterings of good and bad. And what I mean by that is that some grocery stores have lots of great products because of their strategy or because of the customers they're trying to target. And we know this is intuitive. Like Sprouts Farmers Market is going to have more, dope variety and family owned stuff and, farmer stuff than if you go to like Kroger. Duh. And so then like one layer deeper, then there's product categories where good stuff clusters, and there are product categories where there's almost no good stuff. And a good example of that is like the snack bar aisle. As in snack bars, or dressings is another good one. These are things that are like very easy to bring a product to market in, relatively speaking. Compared to like cereal, you're fucked. You're not bringing there are a few, but it's super hard to bring a family-owned cereal business to market, partially because the cereal aisle is so competitive. It's like the highest price per shelf, because a lot of people don't realize that everything on the grocery store shelves, the companies are paying for the shelf space real estate.
Oh, no shit.
Grocery stores don't actually make their money off of selling products. Most grocery stores actually basically run a like flat, like zero in, like just kind of like they just maintain off of actually selling products.
Wow.
And actually they're selling real estate.
Interesting.
Grocery stores are making their money by selling the shelf space where the items are. And the most valuable shelf space is right in front of your eyeballs at eye level on the right-hand side, because most people are right-handed. And in some aisles, it's at kid height. Like the cereal aisle, one of the most valuable spaces is like that second row up, where it's right by your kid's head with all the Fruity Pebbles and the colors and stuff. And they charge big money for that. Like we're talking multi-million-dollar contracts to get your shit on those shelves.
Wow.
And that's true all over most grocery stores. And different aisles will have different prices. Like the end caps will have much higher prices, things like that. And so you start to learn that there are certain industries where a mom and pop shop that's like putting together their own family like salad dressing or their own, lotion. There's certain industries where there's a lot more diversity in the market because it's just easier to make a small batch lotion company and to get it on the shelves at like your, 10 grocery stores in your area. Whereas like way harder to do that with like laundry detergent because it's just the economy of scale and of manufacturing and all that is just crazy.
Yeah.
But then also like that sort of opens this window into like, I guess how to find what you're looking for in the grocery store, because you start to learn where you can find family-owned businesses, family-owned products, non-corporate products, and you also start to find out how to spot them while you're there. As in, like, you might not know if you don't have the Buyer app. You should get it. And if you don't have it, you might not know which of these cereals is family and founder owned. But you might get tricked by this one that looks family and founder owned because they want it to look that way. Like Kashi is Kellogg's, and they like purposely kept the branding looking very like natural and like organic and all that shit, and it's just Kellogg's. But if you know, it's like, well, Kashi is right in front of my eyeballs, and they've got like a huge amount of shelf space. But like way over there in that little corner, I see this other weird little box of cereal. That's probably Family and Founder. And you go look at it, because if you realize and you start to look, you'll notice that the big brands always get the big center shelf space, and usually the Family and Founder owned ones are sort of like up high, down low, off in the corners, in the middles of the aisle. And so you start to learn how to look for them. You start to learn the difference between corporate branding and you know, small business branding usually, although they'll trick you. And then you can just pull out your buyer app and scan it and find out for sure. But I've gotten pretty damn good at just knowing in advance, and I kind of play that game with myself now, where I'll like try to guess the family-owned brand in the aisle. If I'm not familiar with it, I'll be like, I bet that's the one, and then I'll scan it and see if I was right.
You know, back to the conversation we were having on the tampons. You were talking about how they put all these very dangerous chemicals in tampons that are being inserted inside of women. Have you heard about like birth control and what it's doing to women?
Yeah, I have not done the super deep dive yet on it, but like, coming from the male fitness world, it's just obvious. Like, duh. Like, you're going to give them a super dose of sex hormones? Like, enough to actually change your whole body biochemistry?
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
Well, you know what birth control is doing? It's tricking the woman's body into thinking it's pregnant.
Yeah.
So this relates to when women are not pregnant, they're attracted to alpha males, right? They want somebody that's sexy, strong, can protect them, feed the family, provide, right? When they're pregnant, they prefer a beta male. They want somebody that's soft and sincere and emotionally in touch with their feelings, that understands them, right? So you see a lot of these women, a lot of this depression that's going on in this country. You see a lot of like this new era of feminism and how we don't need men to be happy, and you know, all of this stuff. I wonder how much of that derives from this fucking birth control that these women are taking.
An awful lot of it. It's not just birth control too. It's birth control is a huge piece of it. And once I got wise to that, I have not dated a single woman on birth control since. It's like one of my first questions, essentially. I'm not going to have anything to do with that.
You know, they're coming out with birth control for men.
Yeah, they can get fucked.
It's already past the trials. It's going to be coming out on the show.
Yeah, I've got birth control for men. It's called pull the fuck out, bro. It's called make good choices. It ain't that hard. And I think it's also...
It is hard, by the way. I'm just going to caveat. It's hard to pull.
I mean, yeah, you got to be careful. You got to be careful. But in doing all this research, I've learned that there is endocrine disruptors in fucking everything. And some of them, like, for example, tampons, huge one, where it's like, yeah, you're taking birth control, but your tampon is filled with endocrine disruptors and reprotoxic chemicals, meaning toxic to your reproductive system. Your vagina is like the most absorptive mucous membrane in your body. Like, there's a reason why that shit is so pH balanced, and like, you have to take good care of it. You have to clean it. Like, you have to, like, because it is a mucous membrane that is designed to absorb through the blood-brain, like the blood-brain barrier.
Yeah.
You know, the down there brain barrier. And so that's just like a direct line into your bloodstream for all those chemicals that are in these tampons. But beyond that, another example is deodorant. So women have all this breast tissue right here, and they have all of these like lymphatic nodes and things like that in their like lymph systems here. They have all of these hormonal systems that are built in beneath the breast, and your armpit is right there, and women are shaving their armpits, and so you have all of these open cuts right in your armpit, and then they're putting all this deodorant into these open cuts right by their breast.
Wow.
Right?
That's interesting.
And you like, there are studies that, I mean, don't quote me on this, but there are studies that are getting at the big picture that like, this is increasing breast cancer because you're rubbing a whole bunch of carcinogenic chemicals into your bloodstream right by your breasts.
Holy shit.
Right? And that's just one more example. And there's so many makeup and lotions and sunscreens and like tanners and you know, all these things that women are told that you got to buy to be pretty. You got to do this. You got to do this. And it's like, all of that is filled with things that disrupt your hormones. And there's this whole obfuscating conversation around hormones right now in our culture because of trans stuff. And it's like so psychotic. Like, we know full well that hormones create your emotional reality. They create your whole intellectual reality. They create your evolutionary reality. Like hormones are how you become who you are. And we know that because when hormones blow up in puberty, it changes you completely. It changes your whole behavior. It changes everything.
Changes your voice in men.
Right? It changes your physical body. It causes you to grow things and places and hairs and like we know that like you don't want to give young boys testosterone because that's super dangerous for them. It's unhealthy. It'll stunt their growth. It'll stunt their puberty. It'll do all these crazy things to them. And so it's like no wonder that when you pump all these crazy endocrine disruptors into women from all directions, you wind up with some super unhealthy, hormonally unbalanced women. It's tragic. It's so sad. The male-female divide in our culture right now, I think, is like one of the greatest drivers of sadness in our modern culture and generations.
Yeah.
Because that's the divider that like breaks up like our daily lives culture. Like that's the thing that breaks up like now we're not going to bowling alleys and all hanging out and having public space. Now we're not like you're in the bar, but it's like all this like weird split up stuff and it's all this weird competition over sex and then all this like fighting and like fucking like hookup culture. We used to be a culture where like people were mingling, people were going out dancing and having like cultural time together. Like we had all these communities and people were connected. And like when you divide men and women and make them fight each other and all hate each other and like compete over sex and resources and stuff like that, you just wind up with everyone kind of being alone in their own little bubbles. And it's like, and it's especially harsh for women, I think, because women are so predisposed to fight each other. As we found out last week with all the women on Twitter fucking fighting over engagement rings.
Wait, what happened?
Dude, we're not even going to go into it. A fucking Twitter e-girl posted that she got engaged with her little ring photo with her hand. And then all of the Twitter e-girls just lost their minds and started they were like commenting like, ew, why is it so small?
What's an e-girl?
It's just like, the girls who like they're not like, they're not like hoes, but they're an online girl persona that's like, in this case, they're like the political ones that are like, they're a political account, but like
in a sexual kind of way.
A certain amount of the account is clearly because they're a hot chick.
Oh, OnlyFans type stuff.
Well, not that they're not overtly doing OnlyFans or being sexual, but you also kind of know they're like the ones that are like, I'm a real journalist, but I'm also posting like these cute selfies.
I see.
And it's like, how much of your following is because you have good political takes, and how much of it is because you're a hot chick?
Yeah.
It's like, if you weren't a hot chick, would you have, 500,000 followers?
Yeah.
Or would you have like 20?
They're all just trying to give birth to Elon Musk's next baby.
Yeah, I don't know what the story is there, but they sure are fucking fighting, and they just lost their minds. They were all just mud throwing. And I mean like mud throwing. Like straight up, it went from I'm happy to be engaged to, ew, why is it so small? To you got fingered in the TPUSA lobby. You fuck black guys, you mud shark. You this and this, like, whoa, calm down, ladies. Like, calm down.
You think it's real? It could be bots?
No, they're very real. They're like
very
real people. Like,
whoa.
Like we know their names. Like, we know them. They're public figures that, like, homegirl really apparently did get fingered in the TPUSA lobby.
Oh,
at one of the events. Because they all know each other's drama and all this baggage. And it's like, you've got the clap, and you made a whole video about having her HPV or whatever it was.
Fuck.
And you're fucking divorced. You're a single mom. Like, you're 40. You're never getting married, you bitch. And it's like, whoa, dude.
Jeez.
You do not need to start cutting each other to pieces like this. Calm down. And they're all supposed to be conservative female.
What is going on with the conservatives right now?
Trad influencers.
What is going on?
Blowing up.
Is there something that happens when your side is in power for 4 years and you just been waiting to unleash this fucking other side of you that just craves drama?
There might be a piece of it that's that.
I think there's sides on both
held
sides.
Down for so long.
Yeah.
Right?
They're craving the drama.
Yeah, and also just like when people like hit their break, like when you get that big break, it does things to your brain. Like as a guy that recently like had his big break, so to speak, and like was launched into the universe, it just like fucks with you in the head, and you have to really work hard not to like get a giant ego and think you're the shit. And,
what did you notice?
I mean, I noticed immediately. Like literally the second day I had a TikTok, I was like, that's not normal numbers. And it was like after 2 weeks, I was like, this is fucking crazy.
I'm the shit.
Yeah, like I'm fucking better than everyone.
I'm gonna have 1,000 employees here very soon.
Mom, thanks for letting me live in your basement, but I'm better than you now.
Told you I was right.
Yeah, so it's like, for me, it's like, I mean, I think it affects me very differently than a lot of other people because I'm just not motivated by a lot of those things. Like, I grew up as like a dirtbag hippie liberal, like in the woods with like very little attachment to like money, wealth, status, fame, zero interest in culture. Like, don't watch sports, don't watch fucking, TV, anything. And so I just had really different priorities and really different like value structures about what matters. And I didn't hit that success until like age 31. And so I had been through my younger life. I'd been humbled deeply by life by then. I had hit rock bottom and failed at things by then. So I was far more prepared, I think, than a lot of, online influencers to sort of hit success and sort of remember that I am still just like one human. But even with that, like as you grow, it's just hard not to get jaded on sort of like your position in the world and what's happening. And like, for example, the most cogent piece of it that's in my life every day that I struggle with is that my phone is fucking blown up. Like I have so many important, interesting, like essentially powerful people in my phone that matter, that I interact with, that like that is it's weird to talk about. Like you can't really talk about it. And so when I'm talking with people that are like, just kind of like living regular old lives, it's like, I have to sort of like cut pieces of what I would say out. Cause if I was like totally freeballing it, I would probably say things that are like very weird from their, like, they don't live that life. Like, where it's easy to come across as though you're name dropping or you're thising. And it's like, I don't want to do that. I'm just trying to talk about my life. So I try to edit those things out to like feel, to relate to people.
And there's no course on that.
No,
right?
There's
no.
Who knows? But beyond that, there's also an element of just like, I don't have the time to interact with all the people that are trying to hit me up on my phone. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was like a slow progression where at first I was super in the DMs. I was responding to people on Twitter and on Instagram and on TikTok and like making friends all over the place and going places and meeting people. And yes, like I'm such a yes guy. Like, cause I just like want to hype people up and like do fun things and say yes to ideas. It's like, that's the first rule of improv, is say yes to everything. But then it's like, oh, fuck. Like I am now like, there's a million people messaging me and everyone wants a piece of my time and everyone is cool and I want to be their friend. But I just like don't have the social and emotional energy to keep up with all that. And so I had to just slowly drop one inbox after the other. It's like, can't do TikTok inbox anymore. That's fucked. Can't do X's inbox anymore. That's fucked. Like, and I over time, I just slowly let go of my inboxes to the point where now it's like, I don't even hardly keep up with my text messages. And I need to do something to like clean my phone out because I'm like missing. I'm like ghosting on people that I care about that matter. Yeah. Just because I've got this onslaught of text messages, and I either need to like stay focused on what I'm doing or do like just stuff like that where it's like, man, like how do you solve that problem? I don't know. Like,
have you run into a lot of skeptics in the last couple of years?
What do you mean by a lot of skeptics?
Like, who's your biggest skeptic out there?
About me specifically?
Yeah, about you and what you're what content you're putting out.
There's two different categories here. There's like trolls that are just like,
not trolls.
Douchers,
I'm talking about
but like legit skeptics, people that are critical of me. There's a whole bunch, and I love them so much, especially the ones that are like really cogent. I think the most obvious example is Derek Bros in my mind. Derek Bros has been reporting in the sort of like the Whitney Webosphere of like these like people in the middle that don't align with anyone, that are like exit the system and build your own thing, like F technocracy, F Trump, F the left and the right, like it's all controlled. They're sort of like this libertarian kind of center.
Okay.
And Derek Bros is one that was very critical of me early on and like was calling me out about like, why aren't you talking about Peter Thiel? Like, why aren't you talking about technocracy? Why are you glazing Trump? Like, why aren't you like, are you controlled opposition essentially? And I intentionally leaned in because I could tell that he's like a good faith. He's like a real dude that has genuinely good reporting, that is smart, that just has a different opinion on things that I should be learning from. Yeah. And so I leaned in and started doing like podcasts with him once every couple months to just like talk and just open the dialogue. And I don't think he was expecting that. I don't think his audience was expecting that, but I've learned a lot from that and from reading his reporting. And over time, and we still don't agree on everything, but like now we've kind of become friends over time. And that's what I try to do with those skeptics is like, if you're a troll, that's one thing because you're not here to actually like have a discussion. But if you're just like trying to come at it from a different angle, then that's like exactly the kind of person I want to talk to and listen to.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get in there and I discover like, oh, you are kind of just a troll. Or I just get in there and discover like, oh, you're fucking dumb. Like some people are just dumb. And that's cool. Like more power to them. But like, I'm not trying to learn from someone that's dumb. But a lot of them are very smart. And Derek's a good example of someone that's super smart.
Yeah. Anybody else?
There's a whole bunch of Israeli trolls that I just love dearly. Skeptics. It's all people in that sort of central space.
It's interesting because even with this whole topic of, I mean, even Nick dropped your name the other day. Like your name gets dropped into conversations, but it's never negative. It's like you're among the mix. Like your name is up there with the top 5 names.
It's weird.
But nobody's ever got anything very horrible to say about Ian
Well, like,
Carroll.
what are they gonna say? Like,
Yeah.
The only horrible things to say are either that I'm paid by Hamas, like I work for Qatar, which is obviously a lie, or that like you can go like I hate Jews, which I don't, or you can go I'm controlled opposition, I work for the CIA, which I don't, but like that's a fair like take to make. Like totally be skeptical, be critical, watch for that. That's totally fair. But there's not like, because the thing is that I'm like a low key dude. Like I'm not a confrontational like asshole in my real life. Like I try to be friendly to everyone. I'm very empathic and I'm very good at kind of like seeing the world from other people's perspectives. So everyone that I've interacted with in person, I've pretty much had good interactions with. Even people that I disagree with, I try to be kind to.
Yeah.
And then also I don't have a lot of history online, whereas like a lot of these people I didn't even know when as I'm getting into this, I don't know everyone's history. And so I'm like slowly learning like, oh shit, dude, that dude she really did get fingered in a TPUSA lobby. That's crazy. And everyone was there. Or like, damn, that dude like literally has all that lore behind him. I had no idea. So a lot of these people just have messy pasts because they're like messy people that have been public figures for, 7 years or whatever.
That's how I feel right now because I'm just dipping my toes in here. I'm kind of wading into ankle deep water now.
Right.
And it's like I purposely stayed away from all this shit because I wasn't into drama my whole life. I'm like, dude, give me a football game or a baseball game. Yeah. Give me a cold beer. And I just want to chill. I want to relax. And now but it's kind of cool that I did that because I haven't been immersed in it. My brain hasn't been thinking about this for years and years and years. And now I'm jumping in and it's like, holy fuck, this shit is actually kind of interesting. I'm getting it's like I'm getting to open presents that were under the tree fucking 10 years ago or 20 years ago. And I'm like, wow, this is nuts. But it's also so much, to catch up. So a lot of things I say, you're talking about being dumb. I'm the dumbest guy in the fucking room right now. I guarantee you.
It's a good way to be.
Yeah, but I'm okay with that. I don't need to know everything, and I think it's almost good that I don't know everything because I'm not bringing any bad habits into what I'm doing now, and I'm just being genuinely interested and curious. And that's why I said I'm not taking sides because I'm not educated enough to take a side. Exactly. I'm here to I want to meet cool people and make friends and hopefully create a platform where we can disseminate the truth from the bullshit and ultimately in the end like make this world a little bit better place, right? If there's one thing that we can do is we can just leave this world just a little bit better than it was, and I think you did something right.
I'm trying, right? And similar to you, getting in like a little later in life with some experience under your belt. And for the right reasons, with the right personality, it's like it's not hard. Like inevitably, there are always scandals. Like I had this big scandal about a red bracelet on Candace's show. There will be scandals, and that's fine. It's like you just learn to you know what it is too. This matters. When those scandals happen, whether it's because you made an accusation against someone else that you were wrong and they called you out, or you just made a claim about information that was wrong and people start calling you out, whatever it is, or you do something that's fucking wrong and you get called out. When that scandal blows up, you are in the public square, you're faced with this choice of, do I own it and apologize and just accept and own my whole mistake and just be a real dude? Or do I try to fudge the idea and hide this part and kind of create a lie around that? And do I try to play games, right? And it's so many people get tempted into playing games around these scandals and when they're wrong or whatever comes out. And like that is never the move. The move is always to be righteous and just raw and real. And like if you make a mistake and you genuinely it's a mistake, own it and just apologize and be like, I was wrong, or I shouldn't have done that, or I said that and I shouldn't have. Whatever it is, apologize, move on, get better, grow. But a lot of people, they'll come up against one that's just like too much for them and they will die on that hill, either lying about it or trying to cover it up or ignore it or like pretend like they're not wrong or whatever it is. And that's where people crater their careers. That's where people get these like big scandals. That's where people sort of like fall off the edge. And I learned early on not to do that, fortunately, on TikTok.
Well, it's good to have good support around you, guys. Luckily,
mentors.
Luckily for both of us, we're surrounded by the right people that have gone through way more than hopefully you and I will ever have to go through. But I think I got a few more, but I think we're going to save these for the next time. This seems like a good spot to stop.
Yeah, again, we just cruise for forever, dude.
Yeah, you're headed up to...
I'm headed up to the far northeast.
Yeah.
Go play in the woods. Going to build a family log cabin out in the middle of nowhere for a little while.
Woo! That sounds fun.
It'll be cool. It'll be really good to spend some time with the family, time with the nephew, and just like time in the dirt, in the woods, in the sun. But I am getting really stoked for after that. My life opens way up, and I'm going to be able to like. I think I'm actually going to like stop traveling so much and just like chill in one place and get to work for a while.
Where are you going? Because then I got to come see you.
I don't know. I might come and move to the Austin area. I've been intentionally shopping around the United States trying to find where's the best place to set up home base. I'm still in a phase of this career where I need to like kind of be working with people to a certain degree. Although building the YouTube channel, I've intentionally been getting to the place where I can like work from literally the middle of nowhere.
That's what I'm talking about.
So yeah, it's up in the air a little bit, but I'm definitely ready to chill.
We have these things called planes, and you could just get anywhere in just a short amount of time.
Well, for the longest time, I have a dog that is like not very dog sittable. So that's part of why I travel in the van, is because my dog is a rescue that's just like, I've done a lot of training with her, but I don't really trust leaving her with like random strangers for days at a time. And it's also just like, I love her, and that would suck for her. And so instead I was like, for the longest time I was living up near my parents in Bellingham, Washington. And I was like, I could like have them watch her, for example. But once I was like, if I'm not around them, it's like, how do I can't leave this dog somewhere random. So I was like, I'll just fucking bring my dog. Like, I'll just hit the road with the dog. Yeah. Which has worked out good.
Well, I wish you nothing but the best. Travel safe out there. We need you. You're my, if not my favorite voice out there. You're second place.
Appreciate
So, yeah. Thank you again for coming on my podcast. I love you, brother.
I'll come back on when I get back.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?